Hi everyone, thanks for coming out with me today on this gorgeous day in Norfolk. Now I got a question for you. Is it just me, or does every landscape photographer have their favorite tree? I tend to drive around the countryside looking for that solitary tree in a field and make a note of where it is. And I have my favorites that I go back to for sunrises, sunsets, or whatever conditions suit. But I especially look for those lone trees, and at this time of the year in Norfolk, well, around the UK, it just livens up with splashes of yellow oilseed rape fields, and I'm particularly on the lookout for trees in fields of rape. Now, I was out the other night trying to photograph the supermoon, but it didn't transpire because it clouded up. But I did see one of my favorite trees had a rape field next to it, so I thought, right, when the conditions suit, I'm going to pop out there and see what I can do. So I brought you out here to one of my favorite locations, and I'm not going to tell you exactly where it is because I want to keep it my favorite location. I don't want Instagrammers coming out and trampling through this farmer's field. That's one thing the farmers don't particularly like, and I've got to tell you a little backstory a little bit later on, but let's get going. Now, one thing I like about Gitzo tripods, get a little plug in here, they're easy to set up. I don't like the little levers on the legs. You just twist all these at once and pull them all down. Very quick and easy to set up. And as you can see, this is extremely high. This goes 2 meters high, which is ideal for photographing in these conditions when you need to get a little bit of extra height over the field in order to get your composition. Now, often people ask me what this thing is on top of my hot shoe, and I have explained this in other videos. You might want to have a look at our video on what's in the bag. So this is a spirit level, and this is just so quick and easy to use when I'm setting up. So for like this, especially when I'm setting up at a really high angle like this, I can quickly just level that out and it's done. So I was out here this morning and the clouds were just phenomenal. Has really nice big cumulus clouds. So I did a lot of shots this morning, but I thought this would be a great video to show you on different things about composition and just setting up the camera and so forth. But a little bit about this tree. So this is my favorite tree. And I found this probably, oh gosh, back in the 80s when I arrived here in Norfolk, and I was shooting a corporate calendar for HMSO, which is Her Majesty's Stationery Office as it was referred to back in those days. And I was in the middle of this field, not this particular one, but on the other side of the tree. And I had some gorgeous light on these freshly baled straw bales. And I thought this would be a great shot for the calendar. And this Land Rover comes barreling across the field, and the farmer rolls the window down, and all set up with the camera and tripod and everything, and he looks at me and he says, "What are you doing?" And the first thing that came into my mind was camera, tripod, the clue there. But I thought, no, as I'm trespassing, probably best not to do that. So I just looked at him, and I could tell he had a bit of a sense of humor. I don't know what it was about his face, but I just said, well, yeah, I'm land survey. I'm doing some pictures for a road we're going to be putting through here. His jaw dropped, and I gave it a second. I said, I'm just kidding. I'm glad he did have a sense of humor. But I explained to him what I was doing, and he was happy for me to do that. We exchanged details, and I said, look, when the calendar's finished, I'll drop one by your house. And so I did, and I also made a nice big print of the shot for him as well. it's always a good thing to remain on the good side of farmers. And I do make now it does look like I'm actually standing in the middle of the field, but I'm not. I'm very conscious about trampling crops. Farmers do not like that. This is their livelihood. So I'm actually standing in the tractor tire furrow, if whatever you want to call it. So I'm not actually doing any damage to the crops themselves. But let's go ahead and I'm going to take you through a few steps on how I would compose this. And the thing I like about the single trees is it's a good exercise in composition. So where do you place your horizon line? Where do you place the subject? Is it in the top third, in the lower third? You know, where do you put your importance? So, and I would say it's always on the prevailing conditions how I determine where I'm going to place the horizon. So this morning I had some incredible clouds going over and I thought, okay, I want to wait until those clouds are just in the right spot, and then I'm going to give a little bit more real estate to the top of the frame so I have more clouds. Being careful not to crop into a dominant cloud. You don't want to do that. So you watch the edges of your frame. And then also we've got this brilliant field of rape. So I tilted the camera down, put the tree in the top section of the frame, on the third, in the center. So I'm trying to accomplish, I thought somebody was coming, not the farmer. But what I'm trying to do is accomplish as many different compositions from one position. And that's a really good method in training you how to compose your shots. Okay, now, this is looking really good. We've got the sun coming out, lighting up the brilliant rape, and I've got this dark cloud behind. I'm almost shooting into the sun though, but let's go ahead and, kind of difficult to see when it's this bright out. That's why I do bring a Hoodman loop. If you can actually get up to it, that's the problem. But I can just see enough, yeah. Now I'm using a 16-35mm lens because that gives me enough room around the subject, and I can play around with some different compositions using that 16-35 focal length. Okay, now that's level. That's one thing, you know, I don't normally use the touch screen. In fact, I often forget I even have it. But when you have to focus, because I'm used to using the single spot focus on the display, and I place it where I want to focus and everything, but you know, in these bright conditions and this far away, you can't see it. So I can just touch just where I want to focus, and that works a treat. So let's just check the histogram on that. Okay, that's going a little bit over. I'm going to bring the sky down, put that in from below. Okay. Let's just play that back. Yeah, that histogram is perfect now. So I'm not clipping my my highlights now, and I've brought the sky tone down enough that I've captured all that important detail. Okay, now, so I was saying about choosing whether you're doing a vertical, horizontal, that's the other thing. Always think about different orientations, not just the horizontal. Try it in a portrait mode as well. So let's go ahead and do that. You gotta always remember to turn your filter around. Okay, let's go ahead and compose this. Now, I'm gonna do one with it right in the middle. That looks good. Now I'm going to do one where I'm going to place the horizon line really high in the frame and fill the frame in the foreground with the rape. Now if I tilt that down, and this is the other thing, when you're working in these odd angles, it's difficult to know if your horizon line's straight or not. That's why I use one of these. So at this position you would not be able to see your horizon line in your display. I hate going into displays, I've told you that before. It's just messy. I just don't like going into menus to look at something like that. It's so much easier to have this on the outside of the camera. You're always looking at it. So I can just place this down. Let's go ahead and put that on, and then I can easily see that's level now. So let's get a shot of this. There's a really nice dark sky behind there and some light on the rape. So there's something else that we can try right now is a focus stack. This would be a perfect situation where I want to have everything sharp in the foreground right to infinity. So in doing this focus stack, I'm going to start the focus at the bottom of the frame right in the foreground here, and it's going to go right through to the tree and probably a little bit beyond the tree to the background. So let's compose that. That looks good. There's probably only going to need to make maybe 3 or 4 shots, I would say, because I'm shooting at about f8, f9, something like that. And I don't think it's going to require very much. Now, one thing, as I've mentioned in my focus stacking video, which you might want to have a look at, when you do your series, take a picture of your hand to start with and one to stop. So let's go ahead and just shoot that. And that's the end of my series. I did one before that. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and do a horizontal. We've got some really brilliant, gorgeous skies behind this, really dark, stormy skies. So I'm going to make use of that. I'm going to come in a little bit tighter and make a totally different composition. So let's change this over. Now the placement of my frame, or my horizon line within the frame, is going to be right smack in the middle. I know that's going against all the guidelines or rules of composition, but in this case you can break those rules because I have an interesting foreground. I have something really interesting coming over the top of the frame as well, or the tree rather. And so I'm going to just wait until that comes in a little bit more and then make this exposure. So let's get set, ready for that. That looks good. Now I'm using a Lee 3-stop medium transition grad on this, because I don't really want to have that hard edge, and I want a little bit more bite than a soft edge transition. So the medium is just right for this. So I'm bringing that down just over the tree. That looks fantastic. So what I'm trying to accomplish here is a really strong graphic silhouette of the tree in this field of rape with these storm clouds coming around it. Now f-stop wise, I'm shooting at f13 because I want to get the depth of field. I'm not going to do a focus stack on this particular shot. I want a straight shot. So I'm going to stop down a little bit more, and I'm focusing about 1/3 of the way into the scene. Right about there at f13 should cover that. Oh, that looks great. Really nice. We've got this gap in the sky between the clouds that, yes, it's a light spot. Hopefully it's going to be kind of maybe as an angle coming down to the tree. I don't know. I'll have to see what that looks like in post. I've gone through all my different compositions. I've placed the frame high in the frame, low in the frame. I've placed the tree in the center of the frame. Again, breaking the rules of composition, but it works in this case because it's a really dominant shape. And now placing it in the left side of the frame, I wouldn't do, because if you look at the bough of the tree, it kind of leans to the left. So it gives you that sort of motion towards the left. So if you put it in the left part of your frame, it's going to give the impression that it's leaving the frame. So that would cause a lot of conflict within your frame. So I would tend to keep it either in the middle or on the right-hand side of the frame. Right. What a wonderful time. I just love being out here. It's nice and quiet, nobody around, just watching the birds fly around, make a few exposures. Yeah, great day in Norfolk. Who needs Provence or Tuscany or, yeah, I long for them, but you can still get some great shots on your home turf. I'm going to wrap this up because I think I'm going to get rained on, so I think I'm going to get a few more shots before I go, but thanks very much for coming out with me today. I hope you've learned a little bit more about composition and placing subject within your frame. So try this technique when you're out next and you have a single subject. Place it in various different quadrants of the frame and see what works. Often you'll find that it works in more ways than one. Don't just stop with one shot. Try horizontals and verticals and so forth. And I always try to get a panoramic, which I haven't done yet, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So if you haven't subscribed to our channel, hit that subscribe button, hit those likes, and I'll see you again in the next video. Bye for now.